Got him in group as a go.
Yes! Not just a startup, an upstart.
Gotta get going. Gotta be good.
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 Growth is the goal. How do we do that?
I talked to UPS. They'll help us out. New technology, smart advice. We focus on the business, and they take care of the logistics.
UPS.
Good going.
We get good. That's great.
Great. Great.
Great.
Great.
Great.
Great.
Great.
Great.
Great.
I love logistics.
Welcome to another edition of Z360. I'm your host, David Sutsup. Coming up, Akron men's basketball held its second annual Purple Out game in honor of Dan Peters. Women's tennis player Martina Zerbola looks to lead a young team through the spring season. And I talk with Tom Wistracel to recap the NCAA convention. We start off with the Purple Out. The men's basketball team held the event for its game this past Tuesday against Ball State in honor of former director of basketball operations Dan Peters after he passed away in October following an 11-month battle with pancreatic cancer.
Obviously, Dan Peters was an integral part of our program and somebody that was very, very important to me, not only from a professional standpoint, but one of my best friends. And we just felt that it was a necessity to make sure we honored this man properly. And pancreatic cancer is probably the least studied of most of the cancers, so we're behind a big-time cause, and hopefully down the line we won't have to deal with it as much if we put some time and effort into it. So we felt like it was a great place to start with this game, and we're going to have this game every single year for as long as I'm the coach, at least. And it's just a great way to honor him and his family, and nobody's more deserving than Dan Peters.
On my visit, I met Coach Pete for the first time, and instantly I felt, a family-oriented team. The biggest thing I took away from the conversation I had with him, he told me, it's not where you go, it's who's there on your journey. So, I mean, that always, sticks out of my mind whenever I think about him. He's one of the main reasons I, committed here and signed. So, having him tell me that and going along with that was key for me being here. I actually felt emotional. I think more so than anything was when I saw his family. I knew that was, definitely tough, and I saw, Danny Joe before the game, and I talked to him, and you kind of hear it in his voice, and then seeing his wife and his other son come out during the court in pregame, I could just feel for them because I know, what they've probably been going through for the past, 6-7 months now. So I could kind of just feel for him, and I kind of see it in Coach Dambrot's face. But all in all, I thought it was a great gesture shown by the University of Akron and Ball State for supporting, Coach Peters and wearing the zip T-shirts, and I think it was a big success.
I was very impressed. It's overwhelming, the support, and I couldn't thank the University of Akron, Coach Dambrot and his staff, the athletic department, the community of Akron altogether. It's just, what you've done for our family is phenomenal. The support's been great. I wish there was a way that we could repay everyone. I don't know how to do it. We gave you guys a win tonight, so you can take that. It's hard to put in words. What do you say about it with the support when people are walking in with your dad's name on their T-shirt? Usually you see LeBron's name on somebody's T-shirt in their jersey. My dad couldn't play dead, so he wasn't that good of a player. But he's got his name on his jersey or on a T-shirt, and people walking around with it like that's Pete. And then I'm going over there, I'm working on the subs today with the game, and I'm leaning down the bench, and I see Peters on the back of the kids' jerseys. I'm going, that kid wasn't on the scouting report. Who was that kid? And I had to double back and think that's Danny, that's your dad. And it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, and the people kind of grabbing me after the game, walking to the locker room at halftime or during the game. People in the stands were trying to talk to me about him, and it's humbling. And again, like I said earlier, you take pride in what people say about your father when it's greater than what you already think of him. It's amazing for sure.
Martina Zerbola is the junior captain of a very young women's tennis team. Here's how the Argentina native is making an impact as a leader on a team with 6 underclassmen, including 4 freshmen.
She came in a tough situation by having to actually sit out her first year. here and just train. It was good from a training standpoint, but difficult. She wasn't able to travel with the team, but she still was able to actually show the character of a leader even in that first year in the weight room. And that's really where she showed up most for us, was in the weight room, being the strongest kid, the one who actually worked the hardest, pushed everyone else the hardest, and that's where it began. And then when we named her captain this fall, it was nice to have that kind of demeanor carry over on court, because in the weight room, she can get in your face if she has to, and she will. And on court, it's nice to have that kind of person as well, where it takes a little bit of pressure off Brian and I, where we can actually not quite always be the bad guy. It's kind of nice to have a player who's willing to step up and actually lead like that.
Well, sometimes it's really hard. You have to adjust because the girls are from different countries, so culture is like a really important factor here. First, like last year I was a captain too, and I took like a different approach this year because I thought that I came too strong to them and I came more like a boss instead of a friend. So this year I try to be more like a friend, like guide them through the process, teach them like, I don't know, how everything works here, like how do we practice, how school works, and I think it's going like pretty well so far.
Oh, she's great. So, I mean, she knows exactly what we're going through, like all the freshmen, because like 3 of us are foreign, and like she really tries to help us. She went with us to all these academic things at the beginning and stuff. So yeah, it's great.
She's very well liked by them on and off the court, and it's nice to have someone again who can, show you that what we need you to do on court, and if we have to get on you on court, it stays there. So when they go home, it's back to just Martina being friends and being able to actually kind of take both roles really. The freshmen look up to her, I think, and I think they all like her a lot, and they respect her for who she is and what she does.
Oh, she tries to push us a lot, and she tries like that we push each other, and yeah, I mean that's new for us. I've never seen this before, but yeah, it's great.
I think the first season like helps you get to know each other and like become a family, which is really important because you think that, I mean, before coming to college, you think you're playing for yourself, like you're individual, like you play singles and doubles, but you only think about yourself. But when you come to college, it's like a whole team. Like even if you win, maybe the others lose and the team loses. So you have to change your perspective and be like, okay, I lost, but I have to like keep supporting my teammates so that maybe they win, we'll all win.
She's extremely intelligent. She was a very, very hard worker, and I think that that comes over not just on court in the weight room, but also in the classroom. She's a 3.9 something GPA student in our very difficult business school, and I think for me it's just the ability to balance everything the way she does. We ask a lot of her, and she handles everything with a smile and with grace, and it's a very special thing to have someone like that on your team.
Tom Wistracell attended the NCAA convention as the MAC's representative from January 15th through the 18th. Here's part 2 of our conversation to recap the convention. David Suntop joined by Tom Wistracell in part 2 of our conversation to recap the NCAA convention. And when we talked a couple weeks ago, you said cost of attendance would be the big issue. And that's exactly what happened. It was passed 79-1 by the Power 5 schools. The only school that voted against it was Boston College. So how does this change the landscape of college athletics?
Well, it certainly does, and it's a big step for the student athletes, and it's the right step for all student athletes at the Division I level, and certainly those that are on a full ride scholarship, for us to be able to provide additional resources to them. And it's called permissive legislation. So essentially the Power 5 conferences passed the legislation, and the other 5 conferences, of which the MAC is one and of which the University of Akron is part of that, has the option to now adopt that legislation without a formal vote. And so it's a great step forward to, like I said, to provide more resources to our student athletes, and now it's up to each school to make the decision of how they're going to fund it and to what level, and to work with financial aid offices, and just to make sure it all fits together.
You guys are going to adopt the legislation, so what's this effect going to be like for Akron?
Well, I think, like I said, I think the biggest impact it makes is putting additional dollars into our student athletes for their use. Especially those student athletes that are living off campus, that have have expenses that are, they're paying for their housing, they're paying for their food, they want to get some clothes and that type of stuff. So providing an extra, $100, $150, $200 a month for them to spend is a step in the right direction.
Student athletes were involved at the NCAA convention for the first time. What was it like to have them there and just their input?
Well, it was great. I was part of a couple of sessions where they got up on the microphone and spoke, and whenever they speak, it's always very meaningful. And then, as part of the NCAA Council, we had our first meeting, and I'm the Mid-American Conference representative on the council. And so we had two student athletes there at the council meeting with us. One of them is a student athlete in the MAC who's a men's soccer player at Northern Illinois, and it was great to have a dialogue and listen to them talk about kind of what their needs are as student athletes, and also what they don't want. So it was great having them there. It felt very natural. I think we all interact with student athletes so much on our own campus. It was very natural having them there, and I think it's only going to enhance what the end product is.
What were some of the things that student athletes want to see and some things that they don't need that were brought up at the convention?
Well, interesting enough, I think cost of attendance is important to them, the additional resources that come in. I thought the part that was most interesting was that the student athletes were against essentially the guaranteed four-year scholarships no matter what. The student athletes that spoke up said, in layman's terms, that sometimes there is dead weight on the team, and that student athlete needs to go. They need to go somewhere else, and they don't want to be held back with their own team, with their own individual performance because of some dead weight on the team. So, which was kind of contradictory to I think what everyone was thinking there. So it was great that they were able to share their voice, and they were heard loud and clear, no doubt about that.
Cost of attendance and prohibiting the removal of scholarships for athletic performance were two big topics during the four-day convention. What's the next step for the Power 5 conferences and the other conferences?
Well, the next step together is the NCAA Council, again, which I'm a part of. We have to get some strict definitions into how cost of attendance is going to be applied to all sports. I think it's easy in sports like football and basketball how those are going to be applied. But the question now is, you take track and field and softball and baseball and sports that are equivalency sports where you're spreading that money amongst many student athletes that aren't on a full ride. So next step is we have to dig into that cost of attendance, see how it's going to affect them. And then after that, they passed 5 proposals. The autonomous group did those 5 conferences, and so they have to decide what's next for them. Are there other things that they want to do over the next legislative cycle, or do they want to see how these kind of filter into the membership and how we all work out our differences there?
The NCAA convention took place in National Harbor, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. I know you were busy during the convention, but if you had any free time, did you get to explore any of the monuments?
I didn't have any time to do that. I had dinner with some friends, some of the other ADs around the country. We had a beautiful hotel there, so actually the windows kind of near my room looked out over. You could see the mall and the Washington Monument and all of that off in the distance. So that was about the closest I got to any historical monuments this trip.
Nice to have a great view from your hotel room. Tom, thanks so much for joining me, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
All right, it's great. Thanks for having me.
That wraps up this edition of Z360. Tune in next week as we'll have the story of 2 student athletes with the last name Seiler that star for 2 different teams. Thanks so much for watching. I'm David Suntup for GoZips.com.